Hello, Scott. Thank you so much for your grade two submission. I can see that you put a lot of hard work into this, and I think a lot of aspects of your playing are really, really good, and you have a really, really nice solid foundation here, I think, for moving forward into grade three. So I would absolutely say congratulations, and you definitely earned your grade two certificate with this. And yeah, again, I think your technique, your sitting position, your just how comfortable you look with the guitar is really, really good. Your sense of rhythm is really good. Yeah, I think we're checking off all the boxes here for a very, very successful and strong grade two submission. So what I would like to do though is go over a few things, and also talk a little bit about some of the suggestions I'm going to give you, and just point out a few things to maybe look at and maybe try to tweak a bit, especially with the understanding of what material is going to be around the corner for us in grade three. So we'll talk a little bit about some things with the just some small things with the right hand that I wanted to just go over a little bit, and let me see. Just checking over my notes here. Yeah, as we go through, I'll kind of address each one of the things here. But I wanted to maybe go over a little bit with the self-assessment at first too, because this really paints a great picture for us of your experience. How you feel you're doing, what your individual sort of self-awareness is as a musician. And it's always great for us to get a very detailed assessment, and so I appreciate that. It's really helpful. I know you're talking about grade two being a challenge. I think if your posture did need to be improved, it looks great here. And some of your goals here, I know you mentioned to play consistently. Let's see, trying to find a balance between. This is what I wanted to talk about here, because I think, as we get into the grade three repertoire, we might want to start rethinking how we practice. And I don't know if you were able to attend any of the CGC Oktoberfest sessions. I did one about practicing and strategies for more successful practice. Really, the theme was get more with less as far as time goes. Less time, but actually get more done if we're very focused and we're very goal orientated, and actually have things we want to address. We hit those, we move on. And it's interesting here that you mentioned this balance between deliberate practice, where I watch each technical thing, and a performance practice. So I would say a good mindset would be to differentiate between those two. Think of practice as the first thing you mentioned. We address technical issues. We go right to the problem sections in the piece, which I'm sure, we'll walk through them, and I'll point them out to you. But I'm sure you already know where the tough spots are. And sometimes it's better for me to just go right to those spots and not just start from the beginning, play through, make a mistake, go back, play through, make the same mistake again, go back, and it just kind of keeps being this loop of this practice of my practice sessions, where I don't really feel like I maybe played through a lot of stuff, but I don't really feel like I got anything done. So we want to say practicing is problem solving, very detailed, goal-oriented problem solving. And then it's good to also have times where you're just going to actually practice the performance mode, where you're going to play just like you did on this submission here. And no matter what happens, if there's a memory slip, if you go back and repeat the wrong section, or whatever happens, we got to also learn how to just keep going. And if there's a little mistake, that it doesn't start to snowball and derail the whole piece. So it's interesting that what you were saying there in your short-term goal. And I think if you get a chance to look at, if you haven't seen it, if you get a chance to look at the CGC, some of the material there, And also, there's a great it was a great workshop about performance anxiety too, and how to deal with that, how to channel that energy that we have before we're either going to do a video recording or a live, open mic or something like that. Playing legato, yeah, playing with a beautiful tone. I think your tone is really, really nice. I think something about the way it recorded. Whoops. You started playing on your own there. That was weird. All of a sudden I heard someone playing. Maybe that's the signal for me to get on with it. I think something about the way the submission was recorded, there seemed at some point to be maybe almost a little distortion in the line that you were using. I don't know what audio interface or anything you were using, but it seems like it picked up a lot of the mid-range and bass. There wasn't a lot of treble. So I think this isn't really a clear indication of what your sound is like, as in terms of like the EQ of your sound. I don't think I was really getting any of the brightness of the sound because of the recording. But play more in time. That's all good. That's all good. And I think, one of those things when I'm talking about the problem solving, a lot of times we can go to just these specific points in the piece where there are these issues, and we can almost extract them from the piece, isolate those issues, work on them separately, and then go and put them back in the piece. Because there were times where, you were moving along really, really nicely in the piece, and all of a sudden there would be just a few of these hesitations. All of a sudden there's this just little bump in the road. So we kind of have to sort of smooth those out, and then I think, then come back and kind of put the whole piece, the whole piece back together. In performance practice, you jumped into open mic several times and exposes shortcomings. I play to improve my performance and am grateful for the chance. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find a more supportive group than who we have here at this community. It's amazing. But the more you do that, the easier it gets. It's like anything else. A lot of times we practice our scales, we practice our arpeggios, we practice our repertoire, but we don't practice performing, and even in our practice rooms, recreating the performance environment. And sometimes that could just be, it's just hitting that record button can change everything. Set up a Skype call or a Zoom call with a friend or a group of friends, and just say you're going to play. Maybe have a thing where you guys play for each other. I know the open mic thing is kind of like that, but maybe you could form a little group where you do it more frequently. So yeah, let's kind of jump into the repertoire here. And I made a few notes. Again, it's not a lot of stuff because I thought things were really working well for you here. And some stuff I'm going to kind of get into where I maybe wouldn't expect you to have these details worked out for a grade 2 submission, but I'm going to mention a few things that you might want to think of, even that you can put back into these pieces that are more like grade 3 skills. And that's the beauty of this, is that once you start going to the grade 3 repertoire, I would still keep these pieces, or even if you shelf them for a little bit, keep going back to them, because these are really, really nice pieces that are sort of a great foundation to a very varied repertoire, a very diverse repertoire. And these would be great pieces to keep in your, it's always good to have pieces that you can play anytime. You just pick a guitar out, you're in a store, you're trying out a guitar, you have pieces that you can just play, you don't even have to think about them. So it's, maybe these could become some of those pieces for you. Okay, so let's start here with we have the number 13. And this was good. I thought the tempo was really nice here. Again, I think I'm getting more of the bassier sound of your guitar. I do like you kind of stretching the rhythm a little bit. Now, this might be something to think about. In the score, it's written that the melody is, which is in the bass part here, right? The melody is actually, it's a quarter note, 1, 2, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 A. Like the bass doesn't hold to. There is a rest. So if we put that with the rest of the arpeggio, it would be something like this. I would want to, on that beat 2, stop the bass. Sorry. So I would want to maybe try that. And all I do is, again, I put my thumb back and just dampen the string instead of... Which is nice because when we go a little faster... Sorry. It kind of separates those voices and gives those voices a little bit more independence on their own. The fact that that bass stops. Then when we get to 7, it rings. Something like that. But that's something, I wouldn't worry about. You might try it now. I didn't expect a lot of bass stopping in the submission, but definitely something to think about. I think there you actually did. Hold on. You kind of did it there. Yeah. Just, we would want that more consistent. Yeah, so the good tempo you had, maybe trying to maintain. I know there was that little hesitation there at the end. So just kind of maybe try to work that out a little bit more. Just that little one, just that one chord change there after on measure 9. So moving on to the Etude number 1, the Giuliani. Let's see. So this again, I thought was really a good job with the balance with the voices, and this is something that we're going to start to see more of as we get into grade 3, is that we're sort of responsible for more. We're one instrument, but we're more, we're several voices. And you did a good job here at the beginning, isolating that bass with the that upper. And that's something to do in that more detailed practice, part of your sessions, where you isolating the voices, playing them individually, and then putting them together is very, very important. So you did a really good job with that in the opening here. There's that A. Good job here at the really tricky part, and then later on, you do a good job here of balancing the upper voice, very similar to what we have in the practice routine. Only thing here may be a little bit more no, it's okay. Yeah, this was really good. The one thing I would say is maybe you're playing it very, very clean, very, very polished. I would say maybe I would try to take this same relaxation and try to move this tempo a little bit, though. So this was like one piece where I felt that it maybe is sort of dragging a bit. Now I understand if this is just where you're at with the piece, where you feel comfortable playing it, but I would try maybe putting it up a few notches on the metronome, even though maestoso, which means kind of it's like majestically, even though that really doesn't have a metronome marking, so to speak. I mean, there's a range of that. It's more like a character of the piece. But if we did that somewhere maybe around like it just keeps things moving a little bit. And I'll kind of show you, if you took the clarity that you're playing with now, and let's say if I just bumped it up 25%, just listen to how great this sounds. If it could even be there, that would be perfect. Just sped you up 25%. Now when you go back to here, you can feel how this could be, a little dragging here. So, just little by little, I would kind of just try to maybe notch that up a bit on the metronome, find where you are now, where it's comfortable, find that range, and just little by little, kind of maybe push it a little bit more until we're to like right where I just had you with the adjusting the adjusting the video. But that's really nice, good balance with the voices. The one thing that I'll say, and I also would say the same thing with the simple mambo too, is that just throughout the whole repertoire submission here, and you can kind of see if I stop at various points throughout this, notice your right hand really doesn't move too much, which is good in a way because you're the technique is and the hand position is really, really good. But what I mean about the movement is that we could probably use more tone color variety, especially pieces that have like in the simple mambo where we have the repeats. But also, we could brighten up the sound on the Giuliani as well. Maybe go more tasto sometimes. Brighter here, maybe. Just having that option. I lost you there. Just having that option would be very helpful, and just experimenting with some different changes of color, I think would be really good. So the mambo, I know you said this was the challenging piece, and it definitely is. I think sometimes the name should be the not so simple mambo, right? There's some tricky stuff in here to play this well. One thing you have to deal with the little syncopated rhythm happening, and also it's just a tricky piece to start. And I would one of the things that I would suggest is, before I start playing, is almost to kind of hear that first phrase, that before I start, and almost as if we're going to start off a little under tempo and not only crescendo in that first measure, but also accelerate the tempo, like. And it's got some A finger in it. My A fingers, I have a little issue with it now, so I'm going to try to do my best here, but kind of, sorry. Like that. Where am I? Look at the music. Yeah, so I'm going to hear 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That kind of thing. But I'm going to hear that phrase before I even play it in my head. That way I have a better idea of what's going to come out of my guitar, or ideally I want to come out of my guitar. So that's going to be important. Also, thinking of this in terms of, just stylistically, I almost envision that it's, a band playing on a street outside a restaurant or something, like this kind of gypsy jazz band almost. And that could be maybe either like a violinist, or I almost can hear it like as a little trumpet part as well, like almost like a little mariachi band or something. But, just kind of easing into that. And on this piece, thinking about the balance, the idea of what's the melody, right? And keeping everything else, this other stuff. Although at the end I'll lean into those bass notes a little bit, but keeping that stuff a little underneath the melody. But let's hear your start here. And this is another piece where I think sometimes we did have some hesitations. So I know you said in some ways it's still a work in progress. Like right there, I feel like the G got cut. So we need that. Right. Also, I'm not sure. I tried to slow it down a bit to see, but I think you might be doubling up and repeating a finger here in your fingering for that. Like if I watch your A finger, or it might be your M finger. Let me see. It looks like when you did looked like there might have been some doubling up there in the right hand. So I would just go, maybe review your fingering. What really works nicely there is P M I M. And then A. So P M I M A. So maybe even write that in and just double check there about if you're repeating a finger there. And the idea that melody sitting above the accompaniment. I think there too you doubled up on M. Yeah, so I think this piece is probably the one that could use the most, still some work just to make sure we're keeping the tempo that you established, we keep that steady. We don't have any hesitations here. And I think also there was too many, just double check here, I think there was too many repeats. I think when you go back after the first time you do, then when we get back to that repeat sign again, we keep going. We get into all that. And also, sometimes too, this could be a piece where it would be very effective to go brighter sometimes in the sound, more Ponticello. And I wanted to play you a section here, so I would just check over the form again, but also as far as the number of repeats go. So it only should be one repeat, and even in my score it says that first repeat is actually optional, or you can repeat as many times as. I mean, ultimately, it really doesn't make. It maybe doesn't matter, But also, if you were going to do more repeats, I would suggest more variation of tone, color, dynamics. The more repeats we do, the more contrast we would want. So you basically could kind of repeat. If you did an extra one, I guess that would be fine. But I would say maybe one repeat and then just play through to the end. Unless you're playing a gig and you need to stretch this for time or something. I've done that too when I play like wedding, cocktail hour, wedding kind of gigs, and I'll take a little piece like this and I'll just keep I'll keep looping it. So the other thing too would be when we do one of the repeats here, and I timestamp this, you play this opening pad, like this is the way you should play it every time. This was really good. Take a listen. It's a little bit later, sorry. All of a sudden, I feel like the tempo picked up here too. Yeah, that little snapshot right there, that little 3 measures there. If you played the whole piece at that tempo and with that kind of, that felt really confident to me. All of a sudden, when I was listening to this the first time, my ears really perked up at that point. And I was like, wait, that was like, if we could get the beginning like that, and every time that little passage comes back, to be that confident, that would be great. Also, one thing at the end here, so I know you did another repeat here. So that ending too, I think it would be better because he does put without a rallentando at the end there. I think we would want to stay in tempo there. So once we do this, maybe I'll do slur there too. But I would keep that right in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, or there it is. Okay, so I think you did it on a different. Also made me that a little shorter, like a little staccato on that. And I'll take my thumb really. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so just kind of watch that. Yeah, I mean, really, really solid, all in all. And I think the one that really could take maybe the most, suggestion and kind of still, think of it as a work in progress would be the Simple Mambo. Although you played it really, really well. Think about that moment that I time stamped for you. It was like right around 3 minutes and 54 seconds when you went back, and that was really. That was the best you played that line. I have a feeling it probably sounds more like that when you're not in a pressure situation like this. So I would say, the other thing too is just think about, especially in the Simple Mambo, just more right-hand color options would be good. And as far as the practice routine, and then just think about the fingering for this. Try to get that as make sure we're not doubling up any fingers there. So as far as the practice routine, this is where I felt like there was a little bit of it was kind of hard to hear at times with the some maybe phasing issues with the recording. But again, you look, right hand's working really well here. Maybe on something like that, you might want to. Sorry, that's the. Let me just get my routine book here. The happy couples. Maybe trying to make those a little bit more legato if possible. I know it's good that we're prepping, we're doing some right hand prep there, but if we could go. So even when I go, try to eliminate any space. That too is tricky. But also for playing with no, yeah, that one right there. That's the one I just messed up, right? So I would say that would be a great part to extract and just work on this chord change, which is very important, of course, when we get to the Giuliani studies. So just even a few minutes of doing that. All of a sudden, you'll feel when you go back and play it in context that all of a sudden it's working much better for you. You were fine here with the sustaining voices, which you were already doing in the Giuliani really effectively. And I think my one comment will probably be, I feel like we can never play legato enough. That's just the nature of our instrument as a guitar. It's a percussive staccato instrument a lot of the times. So trying to make it as, I once heard a great line. It was like, guitar can't play legato. We can only play the least staccato as possible. So that's something to think about. I thought the arpeggios were good. I don't see a lot of extra movement in your right hand, which is really, really good. Probably if I could see, an angle a little more this way, I probably could tell a little bit better. But from this angle, it looks like, the right hand's working really, really well for you. And yeah, I think, there's not too much really to say here. The, chromatic scale looks good. This right here is probably it's the closest I've seen, you were playing much more. Let me just find that spot again. Like right around here, this is where I would consider to be, probably for me at least, my neutral position. Right around here. I felt like more in the repertoire, if I go up to the repertoire here, just real quick, you were more, it was a little bit, I might have been a little, we're talking about, maybe my thumb more toward the middle of the sound hole with the other fingers like right over here. That's kind of what I would consider kind of my neutral sound. But this, to be all the way outside of the sound hole, that's probably where I would go if I was thinking about going toward a Ponticello sound. So you kind of seem to spend a lot of time out there, almost as your neutral position. I could be wrong, but that's just the what I got from this particular submission. Whereas over here, this would be more of where I would consider my normal tone color. But you were getting really nice sound on that. But as you can hear, like I was getting a lot of more of the mid-range, I think, because of the recording. But the practice routine I thought was really, nothing, no real major issues there at all. So the one thing, again, just I would say the mambo probably was the one that might need still the most like seasoning. Think about the form, think about how many times I would try maybe doing as written with the one repeat, going through go repeat and then go through again to the end, and then just look at that little line and just think about hearing with all our pieces, hearing the start of it before we actually play. I think that's really going to help. And also that idea of that more detailed, goal-oriented practice, and doing what you said in your self-assessment, thinking about practice and playing as two separate parts. Think about the playing as like the reward for our work. We work on these sections, we isolate sections, we work on our technique, and then we give ourselves some time to just play through the pieces and do it in a performance mode where we know we're not going to stop. So, and I think that's about it, Scott. So thank you so much. It was great to hear you play. Congratulations again on a great submission. And looking forward to where your journey with the guitar takes you. And, best of luck for continued musical success here at CGC. Thanks.